Welcome to Inner Voice of Knowing podcast. I'm Kaye Doran, a shamanic leadership coach and healer, guiding you through life with a foot in both worlds. When you understand the terrain of the inner landscapes, the mental, emotional, spiritual and energetic, you will become the leader within your physical life, both personally and professionally. After all, the power of change is in your hands. Let's get this journey started. Welcome back to Inner Voice of Knowing. Well, I always say that what I was going to talk about turns into something else. So what I had planned for this, the final episode of 2025, is going to take its own unique turn. And that's because I'm here in Australia, and as you would all have heard, the tragedy that happened in Bondi, and I need to speak into that a little bit from a shamanic, energetic perspective. It is horrific. It was a shock to us all. The disbelief, the understandable anger that's been triggered in a lot of people, the outrage, the grief, huge. But also the heroism of people rushing in, putting their lives on the line to protect others is incredible. There has been so much loss, which is bad enough in itself, but right around Christmas, this will taint everyone's memories in the lead up to every Christmas. And when events like this happen, people's thoughts, fueled by emotions, understandably so. But from my shamanic perspective, I sit back and I go, what can I do? Because this hasn't just touched Sydney, it's touched the whole of Australia, it has touched the globe. It has touched a part of the community, significantly so, that the fear is now, how can they be true to themselves because it puts them at risk? For example, hearing someone say, do we not send our children to Jewish schools, etc.? This was a celebration of bringing light into darkness. So this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. If you're like me and an extreme sensitive, what some call an empath, I have learned a long time ago that in working with my energy, I do not have to feel and absorb everything that's happening with everybody else. Because if that happens, then I cannot be of service because I am weighted down. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I talk about this darker, denser energy in terms of being like a rock. And the higher frequency is experienced like a feather. But what do we feel the most impact from? The rock. How do we create the feathers and bring enough feathers together that we create wings to soar? It's in these moments of the deepest adversity, and this is a global adversity. How do we bring and align with love and compassion and bring support to this energy? Because if we mentally go down that path of staying focused on anger and rage and judgments and getting so heavily politically based, which everyone has the right to do, but the more we fuel that, that is where that energy is going. And right now, support is needed. Love is needed. Love will build that strength to help those most adversely affected to move through. And for me, it is an honouring of that Jewish celebration of light being brought into darkness. So I'm going to share a couple of things because this is the last episode for this year, and then I want to move on to some others, but this needed to be spoken about and acknowledged first. And I'm having people reach out to me who are sensitives, who are feeling so heavily impacted by this, that they're not sleeping. It's creating some nightmares. They just feel so incredibly wobbly, and they're not even in Sydney because the energy knows no distance. And how our humanity brings us all together and unites us, okay. Heavy duty energy work called for the discipline so that we can feel like we're playing some part to help. Okay? Because the thoughts that we have, that we feed the emotions into, direct the energy. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to direct the energy into hatred. I don't want to hold grief. Can I express it? Absolutely. And I have been, and I will continue to, minimally, because I'm here to be an anchor. And I ask you to invite to connect with me, to choose this with me so that we can send an energy of love, compassion, and support for those that most need it, that are most deeply affected by it. Give them strength. Find that within themselves, because otherwise many will be buried under the weight of this incredible loss, incredible tragedy. I find it hard to find words for it. So this is how I'm keeping myself centered and clear. I will write and journal and process my feelings. If need be, I do my process to defuse fears, right? Because I'm not going to be manipulated and pulled into this. Then we do the cutting of the cords process. You can go to episode 2 to get more detail. Calling all energies before us and from the front and behind connected into us, bringing down the flaming sword of truth to swiftly and cleanly disconnect those cords, the flame sealing the ends, and then calling on the bluish white light of the Christ vibrational frequency of consciousness, of transformation, expansion, and healing to wash all the way through and all the way around. This is not a religious thing. This is not about Jesus. This is a Christ consciousness energy, bluish white, bathing us, cleansing us, clearing us. When you know what your own energy feels like, your thoughts are your own, your feelings are your own, you're not being impacted by the weight of everybody else's. We want to bring clarity to ourselves so that we can be of a greater service to the whole. And in particular, to Sydney and those that have been weighted down by the rubble of something so horrific, a nightmare, if you will. Then the heart intelligence breathing. Again, just very quickly, hand on the chest, a little bit of pressure. You're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, drop the jaw and breathe out for 4, but you're going to connect these words. I activate love now. Or I emanate love now. But for me, activate is I'm not just activating it within myself, I am activating it within the earth, I am activating it within everybody, I'm activating it. Calling it into greater presence. So as you breathe in, you're saying those 4 words. As you hold that breath, you're saying those 4 words in your mind. As you drop the jaw and breathe it out, I'm saying those 4 words. Keep doing that cycle for as long as you need to, for you to feel calm. Now here's what you're doing. You're instantly bringing your awareness into the intelligence of the heart. You are bringing yourself energetically into the present moment, into this now moment. You're not being pulled in any other direction other than right here, right now. Nowhere, now, here. In doing this, you are then creating heart-brain coherence. What does heart-brain coherence do? Well, it brings you into that field, or what others call the quantum field, but that creative field where you are giving energy its direction, right? But heart-brain coherence is like this. We're flipping it. We start thinking from the heart and feeling with the mind. Not allowing the mind to rule with thought. Thinking from heart intelligence and feeling that from the mind. And in doing that, not only are you in the now moment, activating the heart intelligence, creating heart-brain coherence, which means you're playing now, you're standing in the creative field where you get to direct very clearly, very consciously the energy of activating heart energy. Now, you're also dialing into the inner voice of knowing. Knowing, power and potential, source, soul, success, self. That trinity. In there you are guided. It is clear. You're also calming the nervous system. When the nervous system is shot, it's very hard to think clearly. It's very hard to make choice. So that one act doesn't have to go on for long. Doesn't matter how many times in the day you need to stop and do it. It activates very, very fast. So you've become very clear in your own energy, cleansed and expanded yourself with the cutting of the cords, and then you've done all of that with the heart intelligence breathing. And it's Christmas time, the season for giving. Let's give that love. Let's feed that love. Let's give and feed that compassion. Let's give and feed that support. The rest can be dealt with. This is what I call like phase one. And let's be like that butterfly in the Amazon who just flaps its wings and it affects a great distance. And if we all come together, you are helping yourself. I'm minimizing how much news I'm listening to. And of course, I'm listening to enough to know exactly what's going on and being informed. If I start to then feel the emotion as the empath that I am, then I do this process again, because I'm not going to be of service to anybody if I get caught up in the mass consciousness of grief and anger and outrage. All justified emotional feelings and reactions. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm here to be of service, and I'd like you to come and be of service too. Let's nourish. Let's grow those wings. Let's lift those boulders. Let's join energetic alignment to be of greater service and support for those that most need it. And we can't give it if we're out of alignment. Let's not let this tragedy and the energy of this tragedy bring us more darkness personally. Let's be a beacon of light in honor of that celebration that was taking place. And let's emanate it across Australia, or direct it to those that are in Bondi and around Bondi that were there, and then let's emanate it and blast it out around the world, because so many are affected by this. So let's become clear, aligned, and consciously direct in our intention of our responsibility of what we do with our energy. Okay. We are at the end of the year. Christmas has been. So hold firm through Christmas, because a lot of families on Christmas Day will need this energy from us, will need this support from us. And we're leaving this year behind. So on a personal note, we've addressed the collective. On a personal note, reflect on all the things you're grateful for throughout the year. Let go of the things that you tried to control. Let moving into 2026 be the journey of the horse. Stop all the striving. That does not mean you do not do doing. You do not action, you do. But using all these principles of energy, aligning with your integrity, your core values that must be in alignment with energetic principles. Come more fully, step more fully, be more present within the magnificence of who you are, knowing that what is going on in your internal world, like being the projector that has light shine through, is being projected into your personal world. What's happened around the globe is a mass consciousness. We want to influence that, but right now we're influencing our personal world, which ultimately does influence the mass. Okay? Get quiet. Don't think of, all your goals. That's all attached to striving. Feel into who you choose to be, how you choose to be, how you choose to feel. How are you going to move through 2026? What do you need to do within yourself to be of greater service, to be the next best version of who you are every day? Because you don't want to continue to be who you've been. You want to keep incremental improvement, expansion, alignment. And that takes some focus and some discipline around yourself energetically. Let's take this tragedy and recognize that life is a gift even more deeply, that each moment we don't know if we've got the next. Choose how you want to feel. And here's a little trick, a little tip. I do this myself. Everything I talk about, I live and breathe myself. I walk and talk myself. Sometimes when I start feeling flat, I smile. Now here's the thing. The moment you smile, it's a signal to the rest of you. It activates a more elevated, expansive feeling. Just like laughter can. But it's easy just to take a moment to stop and to smile. It stops the frustration. It flicks a switch. All these little simple things to do. Wake up every morning. And with the tragedy that has happened, let's come back to the simplicity of what true abundance is, because a lot of people are chasing money. And whatever you're chasing, think of the game of chasey, which I play with my grandkids. You run, they run away. That's the game of chasey. So if you're chasing money, what do you think money is doing? If you're wanting and demanding money, is that an energy that invites into you or repels? Think in terms of that. Can you flow like the river? Can you grow like the tree? Can you be the tide that comes in and out? None of those elements thinks about how. It just does. Where can you turn your vision inwards? And what imprint are you going to place internally that the light is going to shine on and project it into your external world to reflect back to you? So start the beginning of the year not judging your life from the past year. Find the gratitudes. Find where you had the resistance, or observe where you had the resistance and make the opposite choice. Where can you put yourself into a calm state? Because when the nervous system isn't calm, your thinking isn't rational. You lose the opportunity to fully choose unless you've been training yourself in calming. What are you going to implement? How are you going to start your day? What are you going to align with? Where have you been pushing and chasing? And what are you going to implement to uncover the fears that are under that so that you can relax and breathe and be very clear then on the actions you do take? They'll be wise actions. But you keep walking too far outside of yourself, metaphorically, you're going to find your wisdom back there. Bring it with you. What are you going to let go of? Who are you stepping into? How does he or she think, feel? What are the choices made? Ask yourself each day, what do I need to do today to be more expansive and of more service? And being of service doesn't mean on a grand scale. Might mean smiling at someone that was a little bit rude of you because you don't know what's really going on with them. It might be some kind gesture, some kind phone call. It might be just simply aligning with the vibrational frequency and transmitting love. Drip feeding that into the mass consciousness. So don't think, plot and plan everything out. Spend the first part putting yourself into the resonance, listening to that inner voice of knowing, and then setting the parameters, or what some call boundaries, around the different areas. So for example, I've got a new program that I've stepped into that's year-long that was completely unexpected, because always the best things come in and land and say, I know you don't feel ready, but you're ready, here it is. So I need to visit my days, my weeks, so I don't lose the spaces in between. So my boundaries are like parameters. This is where I'm going to expand to. Then in this area, I've got expansion. In that area, I've got expansion. I will have expansion into every area of my life. That's what boundaries are to me, for me, and that's what I teach and impart. So, big deep breath. I'd like to take a moment to say how grateful I am for you all. If this is your first time listening, I'm grateful that you're here today. Please stay with us. If you've been with me for a long time, short time, I thank you. I thank you for supporting the inner voice of knowing. I actually do this podcast to be of service. You don't pay for it. It's a gift. There are so many amazing episodes, and we're well and truly into over 60, not that far from the 100. You've got my individual voice in the next episode. There is such wisdom and insight and heart and authenticity coming from each guest that's on. And we need to listen sometimes to the same core stories or message told in their own unique language. It strengthens and anchors it for us all. And I quite often find that someone will reach out going, I've just listened to this episode of UK, or I've just listened to this episode of that person. Or people contact me going, okay, how do I do this? What do I do? You know, this is what's happening. And I'll go to this episode, or this episode. It is a library, a wealth of support for you. Please go back and look at them all. It will take you on a journey. There's always a sequence. And this podcast is, I bring a thread to it, you bring a thread to it, and the guest brings a thread to it. Together, we are weaving a beautiful, energetic tapestry. So you are part of it. Spread the word. This is an incredible resource of support. I listened to one of my most recent podcasts I did on my own. I had to listen back to it to create the description, and little did I know, basically I'd recorded that podcast for myself for exactly where I was in that morning with a decision that I needed to make that put me into a stronger oscillation. Stopped, and I was in, beyond a shadow of doubt, my absolute knowing. So I do it for me, I do it for you, and I do it to have amazing conversations. Thank you for being with me on this journey. I love and appreciate you, and I will see you in 2026. Join me on my next episode, and if you love this podcast, please subscribe by clicking on the plus button if you're on Apple, or like and follow on Spotify. Rate and review, and please share Inner Voice of Knowing with your friends.